Interested in domesticating an out-of-state judgment in New York? Hello, and thanks for joining us. My name is Jocelyn Nager, managing partner of Frank Goldstein Nager. Today we are discussing domesticating out-of-state judgments in New York. Specifically, New York's inquiry when domesticating the judgment and why there is a distinction between judgments obtained on the merits and those obtained on default. This video is for informational purposes only and is not intended as legal advice. The New York court's review of the out-of-state judgment is extremely limited. The reason for domesticating the sister state judgment in New York is not of concern to the courts. They are not concerned the reason the judgment creditor is seeking to domesticate the judgment in the state. New York's role in domesticating an out-of-state judgment is to ensure that the judgment debtor was afforded due process when the judgment was entered in the original state. And because of that objective, the process to domesticate the out-of-state judgment differs depending on how the foreign sister state judgment was obtained. That is whether the out-of-state judgment was obtained on the merits or on default. Let's first discuss sister state judgments obtained on the merits. It may be that the debtor appeared in the case but defaulted along the way. New York could consider the debtor's initial appearance in the case and later default, a judgment obtained on the merits. Domesticating a foreign sister state judgment in New York that was obtained on the merits is quick and easy. In order to domesticate the out-of-state judgment in New York, an exemplified copy of the out-of-state judgment is required, not dated more than 90 days, a clearly and carefully worded affidavit or affirmation to support the application to domesticate the judgment, and payment of the requisite court fee. Once approved and entered by the clerk, the judgment will have been domesticated in New York. The New York judgment is valid for 20 years, and if transcribed properly in the county where real property is owned by the judgment debtor, a valid lien for 10 years, subject to renewal. Chapter 3. Now let's discuss judgments obtained by default or consent. If the debtor never appeared and/or answered, the judgment is a default judgment. As mentioned, New York will not give full faith and credit to judgments obtained in another state by default or judgments obtained on consent or by confession. And because of New York's inquiry as to whether the originating court had jurisdiction over the debtor, New York requires suit on the out-of-state default judgment to domesticate the judgment in New York. The suit will be based upon the validity of the out-of-state judgment. And because the New York court is concerned merely that the originating court had jurisdiction over the defendant debtor, and that the debtor was afforded due process, it is not necessary to include a cause of action on the underlying merits of the case. Assuming the originating court had jurisdiction and there was due process, the New York court will domesticate the judgment. The judgment will be valid for 20 years and lien real property for 10, assuming transcribed properly within New York State. Thank you for joining me today. This was a quick summary of New York's role in domesticating sister state judgments and the different processes to do so determined by the underlying sister state judgment. I hope you found this information helpful. For more information about domesticating a judgment in New York, please give us a call at 212-686-0100 or email us at info@ffgnesqs.com. You will find more information about domesticating sister state judgments on our site. We will post additional videos about defenses and other issues arising when domesticating sister state judgments in New York. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel